Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has called on Australia to investigate a 2016 meeting between then London High Commissioner Alexander Downer and former Trump aide George Papadopoulos. His orders come at a turbulent time as impeachment efforts heat up and Democrats prepare for another debate. Joining me now is Bruce Wolpe from the US Studies Centre. Bruce, thank you for your time this afternoon.
The grand final is coming to Washington, I promise.
I feel like every week is the grand final in the US.
That's
you blink and you miss something, that's for sure.
Right.
What is your take on Australia coming under suspicion?
This has become now a difficult issue for Australia, and it has to be managed really well. Australia simply has to nail its response to the Attorney General that it did nothing improper, and absolutely nothing improper was done here. Alexander Downer did exactly what he should have. He heard something quite disturbing as far as the Russians and involvement in the 2016 campaign. He reported it to Canberra. Canberra reports it to Washington, and then it's Washington's responsibility as to what to do with it. But in Trump's head, because he has spontaneously raised Australia on at least 2 occasions with the media that I want Australia looked at, in Trump's head, something is not right there as far as Australia is concerned. And this can come back to color the relationship and haunt it. So Australia's got to redocument for the Attorney General of the United States that everything was done absolutely properly so that this issue goes away. And just think about it. They're talking about Trump coming to Australia, you know, to reciprocate for the state visit that the Prime Minister had with him. Well, okay, it's one thing to come if you're under impeachment, okay, and we can discuss that. Presidents sometimes go overseas to buttress their standing. But for the president to come to Australia, if he has suspicions about what Australia did, now it was not on Prime Minister Morrison's watch, but he holds the country accountable. So even when a friendly government is elected in Ukraine and becomes president, he holds that friendly person, a pro-Trump person, accountable. And so there's a danger of this drifting into that territory. That's why it's got to be handled well. Well,
as you just mentioned, we saw such a warm reception in the United States less than 2 weeks ago. Do you think this is an awkward time now for us? Could it damage our relationship?
It shouldn't. Yeah. I think Prime Minister Morrison has been quite adept in just doing the business, managing the business that needs to be managed between the 2 countries. Then whatever Australians think of Trump and so forth, you know, that is not part of the equation. And that's what a good Prime Minister should do. But again, Trump shows he believes in conspiracy theories against him. He believes that people are out to delegitimize his election and take it away from him. And if Australia plays into that narrative in his head, something is going to come up that's important to Australia, that Trump will have Australia in his head and exact retribution. It could be a trade issue. It could be a security issue. So we just have to watch it, and this thing really has to be, this issue has to go away, and Australia has to make sure that it does go away.
Now, Joe Hockey is insisting that we will assist with inquiries.
As he properly should.
How do you think we will do that?
It already has. I mean, first of all, Downer was interviewed by the FBI in 2016. I think it is really just showing the documentation of how this thing was handled, again, to the American authorities, and hopefully they will listen. But I think Australia's just played a straight bat. That's exactly what's required here, and doing everything by the book, and everything. There was no issue here. Everything was quite proper.
Let's talk about the impeachment now, Bruce.
There are issues there.
There are a lot. We have a subpoena for the White House. What's the latest on that now?
As you can see, this thing is cascading across several fronts. So you have a subpoena to the White House for documents, everything surrounding the Ukraine call. The vice president was in on the call. So they look at, they want information from him and his office. What did they do? The Secretary of State was on the call. So a subpoena has gone to the State Department and a request for witnesses. You also have the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and subpoenas have gone to him. So I think what the Intelligence Committee is doing, and it is the lead committee in these investigations, you have Judiciary, you have the Oversight Committee, you have other committees, but it's House Intelligence. They want to build the case on Ukraine, flesh it out, and then bring in other things like China, because that was an open-air statement by the president asking for political interference by China. So that's sort of a standalone, not standalone, but it's separate. So build the case on Ukraine, bring in China, and then other issues. Now, if the administration does not comply with the Congress's request, the House of Representatives' request for information, in the past that worked against the House because delay served the president's interests. And that's what happened in the Judiciary Committee. After the Mueller report, they wanted follow-up witnesses, and the White House did not cooperate. So nothing happened. Here, what Adam Schiff and Speaker Pelosi are saying is, We've requested this information. We are proceeding. If you don't give us the information, we could find you guilty of obstruction of Congress.
Okay.
Your choice. You want to give us the information, or you want an article of impeachment on obstruction of Congress? So the leverage has changed, and the Democrats intend to exploit that relentlessly.
What do you think they're going to get out of these documents?
What's really interesting is when the whistleblower report appeared, then people were saying, well, is it credible? Can we believe it? And everything that's unfolded since has ratified what the whistleblower has said. And so the whistleblower's case is being affirmed.
Okay.
And then when President Trump outside the White House makes another very similar request in open air to China, then people see a pattern of behavior. So I think the Democrats feel they are on strong ground here, and that either people get it or they don't. The intelligence community has found that the strongest national security threat to the United States is foreign interference in elections. No one wants a rerun of 2016. But then here it is. After the Mueller report, the day after the Mueller report, which highlighted that fact, the president's on the phone to the president of Ukraine, and the issue of, will you do a favor for me, of a political nature in the relationship. So people are going to reach a judgment. Is this of such importance at the heart of the matter of American politics that impeachment is warranted? And that's where this discussion and where the politics are going.
Former presidential candidate Mitt Romney has criticised the president. It's launched a real stoush between the two.
He did, and he got a pretty savage tweet back from the president today. And a short time ago, the president tweeted that Romney should be impeached.
The tweet is right up now, Bruce, on our screen.
It is. So the very strong issue the really interesting issue for Republicans is, do they stick with the president? And many of them are afraid of breaking with him. The president is extraordinarily strong inside the party, 94% approval rating. All the Republican candidates, if you're a Republican candidate, you want Trump's endorsement. So, but they're watching, again, on this fundamental issue of something that goes to the heart of American democracy. Where do people stand? Mitt Romney looks like he's staking out a position. No, this is not right. That's not to say impeachment is the answer, but he's stating a position that this is not right. So will others follow Romney? And then will that affect, probably not the debate in the House, it's really, really partisan there. Will it affect the Senate if impeachment gets over there? It's a pretty important development to watch.
It certainly is. Now, candidate age is back in the spotlight.
It is, not for you and me, but certainly for...
Of course, after Bernie Sanders' heart attack. Now, the next debate is just in over a week. What do you expect from that one?
Two candidates are going to have special attention on them. Bernie Sanders had a heart attack.
Yes. And
he has stents put in his arteries. I'm sure the blood flow is just great for Bernie, and he'll do fine. But it does raise an issue of if you have a heart attack, in the back of people's minds, do we really want to put you in the Oval Office, and are you physically up to the job, and is health a factor? Yes. The other candidate that's being watched, of course, is Joe Biden. I mean, he is the attack victim of Trump in this foreign interference issue. And a lot of people have said, you're not standing up strong enough. Well, 30 minutes ago in the Washington Post, Biden posted an op-ed responding to Trump. And essentially, he says, Trump is smearing me. He talks about his own integrity. And the op-ed closes with these words. He says, I'm not going anywhere. You won't destroy me. You won't destroy my family. And come November 2020, I will beat you like a drum. So Joe Biden is there. So that that message has to stick, because the question is, does Joe Biden, mud sticks. And so does Joe Biden have too much baggage from this? Even though he's clean, does he have too much baggage to be a really competitive candidate? The big winner from all this, Sanders' health, Biden, mud, Elizabeth Warren, who's had a great year. She's gained steadily in strength, has raised a lot of money, strong organization, and has very potent cut-through messages on big capitalism, big tech, for consumers and so forth. And so she may be the shining star in this debate in a couple weeks.